Okay, it's Sunday, which means against my better judgment, it's time to go to Reddit and see what we can find in this hive of scum and villainy. First, something that I've been saying for the span of about 3 human lifetimes, roughly, and that is about Anabots. The problem I had with using Anabots is that it didn't help me when I got against good players. Anabots walk in a predictable line. After a while, you just know which path they will take to get the health kits. With this predictability comes bad habits. Now my aim is alright now, but I could have been so much better if I just went to free-for-all for practice. I've been saying this forever, that the bots don't move like human beings do. So yeah, you know, you're getting better at aiming at the bots, but they don't move like people do. You're building the wrong kind of muscle memory. So I've never supported this Anabots because of that. But, you know, hey, look, it's not just me. Here's someone corroborating what I said. And they're from Reddit, so you know it's a quality source, don't you? When trancing first is the play, this is much too long. If you want to look at it, I guess go to that Twitch link. You gonna put it in the description of the video? Oh, no. That would be too easy. 5 hidden mobility tricks for Overwatch healers. Mercy glide boost. Do you mean the bugged one? When targeting teammate, press jump. No, because the other one, the bugged boost. That one is what I was thinking of. Fade boost. If you jump out, yeah, you know, the fade boost is like, or fade jump, as I've called it, is like not really that helpful in most situations, but there are a few situations it can be helpful. I never learned to do it, because the amount of effort it required me to learn was frankly more than I was prepared to put in, basically. Bridget has a similar shield jump, but that got, like, mega nerfed before she even got to live. Helix jumping, I mean, yeah, you know. Bunny hat, look, go away. Tips of dealing with smart FARs on ranked as hit scan DPS. That's mainly because FARs at this level take engagements they shouldn't. Now I hit plat and they're not playing like bots anymore. They have plans, and pretty smart ones too. If you're a hit scan main and position yourself on high ground, they do this thing where they come from low ground, hiding in your blind spot. Then when they're underneath you, they jetpack up and fire rockets from a 90-degree angle from above. All happens really quickly. Once the hit scan player, me, is removed from the equation, yeah. My teammates proceed to flame me, So, the thing is that, it depends on which hit scan DPS you're playing as to how easy it is to deal with Pharah, because someone like Soldier realistically doesn't kill Pharah very frequently, because Soldier needs to hit Pharah too many times for Pharah to really die, but Soldier does suppress the Pharah, which can be enough. It'll make it harder for her to do stuff, but you probably won't kill her. Someone like Widowmaker, you'll kill her. Ashe, you'll kill her. McCree, you might kill her, depends on the distance. McCree is fairly, distance-gated. Pharah tends to be a little too far away from McCree to, like, kill straight up a lot of the time. But then he also has the crowd control for if she tries to, like, sneak up on him. So, the thing is that, like, if the Pharah is playing well, it'll be very difficult for you to kill her, because the Pharah won't just float around in open space like a fucking robot, right? So, it's gonna be kind of a cop-out answer, but basically, like, you're trying to keep, you try and shoot the Pharah when she's visible, yeah. You know, you try and suppress her as much as possible. If she's playing smart, you won't kill her, but as long as you can, like, keep her in line, then that's good enough, right? Because the only time Pharah is truly dominating is when she's just floating over your team, just like dunking on them, because there's nothing there to stop her, right? So as long as you're there to do damage to her, she can't just freely do that. So, you know, don't be so bothered if you can't kill her necessarily. Obviously that's the goal, but you're probably not gonna kill her like 8 times in a match and make her rage quit most of the time, right? So you just aim to, like, harass her as much as possible. And she's like any other flanker in this regard, where, like, the way she wins the hit scan matchups is by sneaking up on them, right? Like, just because you're playing Pharah and you see a Widowmaker, it doesn't mean you have to change off of Pharah, right? Because first off, the Widowmaker can be terrible. But secondarily, Pharah has options, mainly to sneak up on Widowmaker and dunk on her before she knows what the fuck even happened to her. So, in this regard, she's like dealing with any other flanker. You have to figure out where Pharah is most likely to come from, which can be different to the other flankers, because Pharah can approach from different locations than other flankers can. But, you know, you gotta just be watching for her, basically. Like, you've gotta be aware of which way she's likely to come. If you've seen her go the same way multiple times, you know, she's probably gonna go that way again, right? So you just have to figure out where she's gonna come from and, like, vigilantly watch that location so that she doesn't sneak up on you and kill you. Just like any other flanker, except this one has a jetpack, which you'd think would make it rather difficult to sneak up on people, but for some reason her jetpack is really quiet. Anyway. Is Bastion not being haltable a bug? The exact reverse. It turns out Bastion being haltable was a bug. One of those things no one knew was a bug, until suddenly Blizzard went, that was a bug. It reminds me of this thing that happened with Hearthstone. There was this thing with Hearthstone when it was in beta, right? And you don't need to know a lot. You can get a frozen effect on a character, right? Which just means they will lose their next attack. And that can happen to minions or the hero, because the hero can also attack in Hearthstone. There was this, and the hero has health, and they have armor. Health has a limit, armor has no limit. And in beta, if you had armor and something that froze you hit you, you wouldn't actually get frozen. And no one knew that was a bug. Everyone just went, oh right, obviously, because you're frozen, it's trying to freeze you, but it didn't hit you, it hit your armor, so obviously you didn't get frozen. But then suddenly, one day, turns out that was a bug. You were meant to be able to get frozen for armor, but we didn't know, up until suddenly it got fixed one day. It was something that made sense, you know? Oh yeah, of course you can yank Bastion off the payload with halt. Why wouldn't you be able to do that? And then Jeff's sitting there like, why the fuck can they halt Bastion off the payload? We didn't know. We didn't know. We had no idea. Anyway, how to Zenyatta correctly. Alright, so I've been playing with the mindset of learn at least one support, one tank, and a few DPS. It's good times. And my current support main has been Moira. And all that being said, Zen has always seemed an interesting support to me, but I genuinely don't know how to use him properly. Is he a high-risk, high-reward, high-skill ceiling type hero, or is he outclassed by other options available? That'll mostly depend on who you ask for that last part, because I think that Zenyatta is still really good, but people are saying he's not as good as other options right now. To me, Transcendence is still really good, and enough to prop the hero up, basically. Basically, I think as long as Zenyatta has Transcendence, Zenyatta will always be a good hero because of the way Overwatch is, where ultimates are really scary, and Zenyatta's ultimate is a fuck your ultimate button. So, I think Zenyatta will always be strong, as long as he has that ultimate. But it depends on who you ask at the same time. What was I going to say other than that? Oh yeah, so he is sort of high risk, high reward, because if the enemy team, like, really focuses you, and specific characters focus you as Zenyatta, you're pretty much fucked, because you'll need your team to help you. Because if you got, like, a Doomfist trying to kill you, or a Winston trying to kill you, or a D.Va trying to kill you, there is very little you can do as Zenyatta to stop that, other than kill the person who is trying to kill you before they can kill you. Which you can do, but is not necessarily reliable, especially if it's someone hard to hit, like Genji. You know, you gotta kill him first. So, if your team is going to play around you and actually protect you, then the risk goes down dramatically, but, you know, it's Overwatch, right? It also depends on, like, what the enemy team is. If the enemy team has, like, a lot of divers and flankers, then Zenyatta is close to being unplayable, honestly. Because there's just so very many things trying to kill you that you can't really stop. Like, you need your team to help you. But like, Zenyatta is good. Like, the Discord Orb is as strong as it's always been. Zenyatta still works really well with flankers because the Harmony Orb on, like, a Tracer or a Genji is ridiculously strong. Discord Orb is ridiculously strong. Transcendence is ridiculously strong. It's just that he has no way to protect himself other than killing the person that jumped on him. So you have to play kind of like a bitch, basically, because you are one of the most killable heroes in the entire game, having no mobility, no self-peel, and an extremely easy-to-hit hitbox, because Zenyatta's hitbox is literally just a floating cube. You're pretty easy to hit. So you basically gotta sit back, like, really far with your team, preferably on high ground, put as many people on your team between you and the bad men as possible, and put orbs on people and left-click them really good. He's not really hard to play, but he is sort of mechanically difficult to play because you have to actually be able to aim to really get the full benefit out of Zenyatta. And he has a projectile weapon, which can be difficult to use. It's a pretty fast projectile weapon, but it's still a projectile weapon, so there's an amount of skill to actually, like, using him properly, but most of the challenge from Zenyatta comes from positioning and avoiding threats, pretty much. So you gotta play like a bitch, is basically what you do. What happened to Oasis Overwatch? I remember the site used to... Yeah, is it not being updated anymore? Well, I gotta go to the secret directory, I remember that one. See, these haven't worked for me so fucking long, so let's see if it does work. That's not the way it goes. Then the number goes over there. Or the hash goes over here. Go for it. Because my profile is set to public. No, none of these websites work for me anymore. Like, ever since the private profile thing, like, if I try to do, like, overbuff or anything like that as well, they always say the profile is private, even though I set it to public. They just don't work for me anymore, so, you know, whatever. That's a shame if it isn't actually being updated anymore, because I always thought that was the best one to use, because it did most of the work for you, basically. Aim practicing tip, warm up, create a public free-for-all custom game, make the health 500% and lower the damage. Okay, sure, whatever. Different sensitivities for different heroes. Saying that some pros use different sensitivities for different, depending on what they're playing. On heroes, he has fucking... That was like a really weird way to format it, because I was like, .cm. I was like, oh Jesus. Doesn't this screw up muscle memory? Did it? Well, I mean, your muscle memory will be different for different heroes, right? Like, you have to develop different muscle memory for different heroes anyway, right? Like, even if the heroes are pretty similar, right? Like, Soldier and McCree, for example, have completely different types of aiming, so you have to build different muscle memory for them, right? Even, like, McCree and, like, Widowmaker, they aim differently still, right? So you still need to develop, like, different muscle memories for heroes anyway, so having a different sensitivity for them doesn't exactly matter much, because you already had to build a different muscle memory. So yeah, I mean, it depends on what they're doing, right? Like, Genji, I guess, you know, being more, requiring slightly more precise aiming, hey, it's lower for him compared to whoever else he plays, I guess. I don't know his reasoning, but, like, I could see it. Like, if you were playing, like, Winston, for example, I could imagine having a higher sensitivity than other heroes, because Winston's not exactly a precision hero, you know? So, I could imagine having different heroes for different sensitivities for different heroes. It's just, like, I'm not that much into, like, min-maxing my performance, where I'm like, alright, now to lower my Widowmaker sensitivity by 0.2%, you know? Like, whatever. What is the character that requires the most skill in Overwatch? Well, it depends on what we mean, right? Are we talking just mechanical skill or overall skill, right? Because if we're talking purely mechanical skill, it's gotta be Widowmaker, hasn't it? Because, like, if you have to be really good at Widowmaker to get anything out of her at all, right? Like, an average Widowmaker is meh, right? Like, very meh, which is also the definition of average, right? Even if you go look at it in a dictionary, it'll just say meh as the definition, so it's literally the definition of average. It's got to be Widowmaker in terms of mechanical skill, and up there would be like, as Wither would be like Ashe also. Genji is not as hard as he originally appears to be. Tracer. Those are like the hardest mechanical ones, I think. If we're talking overall skill, I think it has to be Sombra. Because, like, there's still a mechanical component to her. But, like, to get anything out of Sombra at all, you have to be able to do a lot of things simultaneously, you know? You gotta be playing some long cons, you've got to know how to move around the map properly, you've got to know what the enemy team's up to, you've got to be able to use your ultimate correctly with other people, you still have to aim, her aim is, like, she's got a fucking SMG, you know, she hasn't got a sniper rifle or anything, but you still have to aim, so she's got to be, like, the most overall skill. It's got to be her. Who else would be up there? Hammond. Oh no, we're talking about mechanical skill as well. Hammond's got to be up there as well, hasn't he? Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Mechanical is like Widowmaker, Hammond, and then overall, like Sombra Hammond. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with right there. Please feel free to contribute. Which do you think requires the most skill? If any of you say Doomfist, I'll laugh at you. Widow flicking. I'm a support main and I really want to get into learning Widow. Absolutely garbage. Occasionally I'll hit a couple good shots. I watch a lot of Widow VoDs, but cannot for the life of me actually hit anything like that. Like, I don't even hit the body, I just flick past her, not enough. Anyone have advice, or should I just grind the muscle memory? I mean, you have to grind the muscle memory. It's worth remembering not everyone's good at flicking. Like, you might be better at tracking, which is not something typically associated with Widowmaker, but I mean, you can track a target and then shoot them, right? Because you don't have to just go over to the person. You can track them a little bit and then shoot them. Because you usually have longer to line up a shot than you think you have. People, when they're trying to aim, they always have a tendency of trying to do things too quickly, and then they'll overshoot, they'll undershoot, whatever, because they rushed it. Whereas if they just took the extra half a second to line things up, then they'd actually land their shots more consistently. This is a problem I have, where as soon as I'll see a free kill in front of me, but I'll be like, I'll start panicking and be like, I gotta get one, bang, 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 miss. Right? Like, just slowing down tends to help. But like, you might just not be that good at flicking. Like, you can get good at it, sure, you know, you can just grind it out and eventually you'll get good at it, but that might not be the way to aim for you. You might be better at tracking, in which case, you know, slow way the fuck down, basically. Is Ana a meta pick right now? Oh yes, extremely. You know, we got there in the end. We got there in the end with the Ana buffs, but also, like, less dive started happening, which was also massively beneficial to Ana. So yes, she is. A personal fix to the quick play 5 DPS problem. I'm curious to see how you've resolved the issue of human beings. So, you know, when there's 5 or even 6 DPS on my team, including myself. So from now on, I've decided I will use looking for group to find a partner. Alright. How to fix the 6 DPS problem? Have friends. Well, you're not wrong. You could still be wrong, but you're not wrong. Need recommendations for what recording software to use? Just use OBS. It's really easy to use. It's surprisingly versatile, and it requires close to no resources to actually run, so it's very light on the hardware. I've also heard Shadowplay is really good, but I have a dirty heathen AMD card, so that's not allowed to me. By the way, if you're ever going to create a computer, don't get an AMD graphics card, because there's nothing wrong with the AMD card itself. Like, my graphics card is good. The problem is that AMD usually has a lot of compatibility issues, because most games are made with GeForce in mind. So AMD tends, or NVIDIA, I should say, not GeForce, NVIDIA in mind. So AMD tends to run into a lot of compatibility issues that NVIDIA cards don't have. So there's a pro tip for you. Don't get an AMD graphics card if you can avoid it. Even though they are actually fine, you know, it's an issue. And improving aim and movement in different matchups with various heroes was recently uploaded by S4. Really detailed and beneficial video. Hey, what's the video called, my dude? Shut the fuck up. It's called How to Improve Your Aim with Movements on Different Heroes. Surefour Tutorials by Surefour. So there you go. Go peep that. Well, how long's the video, actually? Also, like, how in-depth is this? Apparently very in-depth. How about that? So go watch that if you're interested. I want to learn hitscan heroes. Should I practice aim and death matches right away? They're fun. Or should I get the hang of some fundamentals? Well, I mean, that is a fundamental, isn't it? You know, it is a fundamental of the hitscan heroes. So make sure you hit. Do it slowly if you have to. Yeah. Just play and try to connect the shots. I mean, oh, I see. Shooting bot. No, the bots, like, we went over this earlier. Bad muscle memory. I mean, like, that's true anyway. Like, you know, just play and try to connect the shots. Like, you know, whatever. Like, play deathmatch. Deathmatch is fine. It's all fighting all the time, and it's against actual people. So, like, you'll build muscle memory. So, like, yeah, I mean, aim is a fundamental for hitscan heroes, so, you know, yeah, a little of column A and a little of column B. Not sure why I'm losing. These posts are always super easy to answer. Stacking with some friends, that might already be the issue. And one person that was high silver, gold, and originally we started we're getting victories after victories, and help my silver friend get to mid gold. My two friends needed the diamond. We started losing. We didn't change our playstyle, did pretty well, getting important picks. Currently I'm nearly silver. Gold. My friend that we brought to mid-gold. We just can't pinpoint my was losing. We tried solo queuing to see if that helps, but it didn't. We tried looking for group by ourselves, but that didn't help either. I mean, silver friend that quit. That's rough. I mean, I don't know, because there's no it's too vague. It's just basically, we were winning, and now we're losing. And I don't know why. Why are we losing? Well, fuck, dude. That's an excellent question, isn't it? You know, like, you know, that's the issue with, like, that kind of post, is there's never enough information to go on. It's always just like, I was winning and now I'm not winning. What happened? There could be 1,000 things that happened. Like, I need to narrow it down a little bit more, you know? Hog versus Tracer. It's a little long, so I appreciate anyone texting arena. I just got out of a game as Hog. I have 50+ hours on. It was already 66. We held a good amount. I was hovering around our Rhine. All his enemies were healed. Our Tracer was coming in a lower side entrance behind us, and I was watching her for a little because I knew that's partially Hog's job. I got her a couple of times, once with an alt fire and another time with a hook while she was going after our McCree. They did manage to take us out a few times, blaming the healers a bit and complaining because he supposedly wasn't getting any heals. Then him and Rain started flaming me because I wasn't watching Tracer enough. Now at this point I had golden limbs, yeah, huh? But it was, one When they pushed through us, I was more focused on the front because I wanted to make sure Ryan had some support. These two basically kept attacking me and the healers. My first question is this a situation I could have salvaged as Hog, and should I have completely focused on Tracer and nothing else, even when there is a McCree on the team? Should I have stayed in the back high ground with McCree to help him kill her, and leave Ryan and the other healer? First off, no, you don't do that, because, like, if you're playing Roadhog, you don't want to be sitting, like, at the back line, you know, because you're not really, like, getting the full value out of Roadhog at that point. If, like, it truly is to, like, a ridiculous degree that your backline is getting harassed, like, there's divers and flankers constantly back here all the time, then that's fair enough, but, like, no, you don't want to sit that far back as Roadhog, usually. You want to be further up than that. Where I lost my place. I know Hog is considered a counter to Tracer, but I know when she's out of effective range and I miss a hook, there's not much I can do against her. So, the answer is no, you shouldn't completely focus on the Tracer at all times. It depends on, like, what you decide at the time is the most threatening thing, right? Like, if the Tracer has been an issue all match, and, like, your people are really getting fucking harassed by Tracer, and Tracer's making it really difficult for anybody to do their jobs, then yes, you focus on the Tracer. But no, you don't dedicate, like, 100% of your focus onto Tracer. Like, you still have to do other things in the game, you know? There's still 5 other heroes on the enemy team, and Roadhog is trying to do more than counter one person, right? Like, he is trying to break barriers, he's trying to create picks, he's trying to peel for people if possible, he's trying to do a few different things. So, no, you don't just focus purely on the Tracer. You gotta decide in the moment which the most pressing concern is. Like, if you can see Tracer getting into position to flank your Mercy, then you may decide that she is the most currently pressing threat. But you also might say, well, yeah, that's happening, but 4 people are running straight at us right now also. And you might decide those 4 people are more concerning than Tracer is right now. Especially if you have a McCree, who you would reasonably be able to assume will help somewhat, right? Like, if you counter one thing, but there is another hero on your team that counters the same thing, you can usually get away with putting less of your focus on that one thing, because you can... hopefully, you can assume that they will help you deal with that somewhat, and they'll be able to take care of it as well, right? So, no, you don't just focus purely on the Tracer. You gotta decide what the most pressing concern is for at the time, which might be the Tracer, it might not be the Tracer. You know, you gotta play it by ear, basically. But, this is also a thing with Tracer, is that, like, well, as Roadhog specifically, is that Roadhog only counters Tracer because he has hard crowd control. The thing is that you still have to land it, right? So this is one of those things where, like, the threat of having the hook is sometimes more impactful than the hook itself. Because Tracer is hard to hit, especially if she's far away from you at the time, right? So a lot of Roadhog players will just throw the hook at Tracer, like, hoping it hits them. But the thing is then, if you don't, like, if you try for a low odds hook and miss, Tracer goes, oh well, Roadhog's no concern at all now, and then just, like, goes about and does her own thing freely, right? Whereas, if she hasn't seen you use your hook, she has to respect the fact you have your hook and could kill her, so she has to play around that. But if she sees you use it, then she doesn't have to play around it anymore. So it's one of those things where, like, don't just hook people randomly, and don't just throw the hook out there hoping it hits people. Because as long as your hook is off cooldown, or if people just don't know if you've used it in the last few seconds, like, they have to respect the fact you could hook them. But if they see you use it, shit, it's all gone now. So sometimes you can zone people. Oh god, no, get me away from this trash. Oh, fuck. Don't just throw your hook out there randomly. You know, this is Roadhog has, like, a really big zoning presence just because of how scary his zone of threat is. So don't always just, like, chuck it out there. Sometimes if Tracer's hovering around, but she hasn't seen you use her hook, she'll play more passively, just because she hasn't seen you use it. Even if you're not, like, actively looking at her. Not sure why I'm losing. We looked at that a second ago. Anna versus Tracer.
I'm learning Ana, but I need some help. When I sleep tracers, I try and do the combo on her, but she also always recoils is what we're looking for. So somebody talked about this last week, didn't they? What you do is you wait until they are about to naturally wake up from the sleep dart, because then they're actually locked into the waking up animation. So you wait for, like, the sound cue of when it's about to end, or you can just count it in your head, you know? And then once they start waking up, they can't get out of that animation, and then that's when you do it to them. Because the Ana, like, sleeping combo that you do on people, shoot, grenade, melee, Tracer can recoil out of it. So you wait until they're about to wake up, then they're locked into the waking up animation, and that's when you do it. Pretty sure that's what, oh my god, I keep pushing the button on the side of my mouse. Get me away from that new Reddit trash. Yeah, that's what it was like last week or the week before, right? I'm pretty sure. I don't play that much Ana, so I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. When to push after a pick by, I mean, you know, okay, go watch Stormy Crispy Juice Permasmug. For that, I guess. Basically wait a few seconds for cooldowns, then push with your man advantage. Yeah. True. Help! I went from a matter of a week and a half. It's been very inconsistent. Some days gaining, some losing. You know, that happens. There's variance involved in playing an online competitive team game, so that'll happen sometimes. Question about D.Va's defense matrix. Which weapons does it not block? Mei's left click, Symmetra's left click, any melee weapon, but you know. Let me look at the list of heroes, because I feel like there's someone I'm forgetting. Symmetra. Overwatch, hero, list. The answer is most, basically. Alright, we got Ashe, Genji, Doomfist, Hanzo, Junkrat, Symmetra, Winston, you know. Zarya, Zarya! That's the one I was thinking of, Zarya. And Moira as well, yeah. There you go. And it basically, you have to fire a projectile, basically, which a hit scan also fires a projectile, okay, as well. Like, it fires a bullet, basically. If it's any kind of beam, then it can't be defense matrixed. But if it's a projectile physically gets fired, then it can block it. Does the source of damage have to be in line of sight? I'm actually not 100% sure if it does. I don't think so. No, no, because I've seen D.Vas, like, stand around a corner and defense matrix through a doorway and it blocks bullets coming through. So no, the source doesn't have to be in line of sight. You just need to have line of sight to the projectile, I assume. That's one of those things where I was, like, certain of it up until there was a question asked about it, and I'm like, is it that way? No, you don't need line of sight to the source of the damage. You just need to be able to see, like, the projectile, unless if you count the projectile to be the source. Does it block damage coming from any direction? Yes, but the hitbox is weird, so sometimes it can sneak past. This has gotten better than it used to be. The hitbox on Defense Matrix used to be fucked as hell, and I would watch projectiles just go straight through Defense Matrix all the time. It's gotten better, but like the hitbox can still be a little weird from certain angles, but yes, it does block from any direction. What is the general shape? Like, I was gonna say hexagonal, but it's not hexagonal, is it? Rectangular. There you go. What are some tips for maximizing its effectiveness in-game?
just use it to block, like, really important sources of damage, which is usually, like, cooldown-based damage, right? Like, because the people will just hold it up to block whatever, like soldiers just holding down left-click, and they'll hold it to block that, right? Which sometimes you want to do, but, like, more often you're looking for, like, the bigger sources of damage. Like, you want to eat his Helix rocket, not just his bullets, right? Reinhardt's Fire Strike, Anna's Grenade, ultimates, you know, yeah. So try to use it for the more important things that are coming at you. Try not to use it for just, like, general trash chip damage, because the resource is too limited for that. Try and use it on the bigger, more important sources of damage, like cooldown-based damage, basically. Or, like, if you can see someone who's getting bullied by somebody that you can block, like, you see somebody get punched up in the air by Doomfist. Doomfist's gonna try and left-click them now, like, he's gonna try and shoot the person, so you just, like, that's when he's gonna do, like, his burst damage to the person when he's uppercutted them up, right? So you put the defense matrix over them and you block those bullets, right? So you try and use it to, like, stop the person when they're gonna do the most damage, basically. Where should I be positioning as D.Va? This will depend. If I'm on the front lines, I feel like I die a lot faster than I do when I play. Even Zarya. If I'm anywhere else, I feel like I'm gonna... So, the thing is with D.Va is that she is very easy to hit and very easy to kill. She's one of those heroes that can very easily turn into an ult battery for the enemy team. So, like, you kind of want to be forward, but if you're too far forward, then it's very easy for you to die, or, like, just take a lot of damage, not even necessarily die, and then you feed them a lot of ult charge. So, sometimes you'll want to sit with the backline if you're trying to protect them from something. Like, if there's a Pharah around, D.Va's good at dealing with Pharah, so you might want to hang around the backline to protect them from that, especially if you think she has Barrage. So, then you might be more inclined to sit in the back. But usually, you're kind of just staying, like, up on high ground, off to the side, kind of far up, and you're, like, looking for people to jump on and kill when they're out of position, or, you're just trying to, like, support your tanks by, like, eating important stuff. Like, Reinhardt versus Reinhardt, if there's a D.Va on your team, it makes it a lot easier to play against the other Reinhardt, because as soon as Fire Strike comes, it's gone, and now Reinhardt is building ult charge dramatically slower than he would have been if there wasn't a D.Va there. So, you usually want to be pretty far up, because you're, like, looking to kill people that are out of position, so you kind of want to be closer to those people. But you might want to be further back if you're trying to protect your backline from something specifically. But you do have to be careful how far up you are, because D.Va being very big and having a very big crit box just makes her very easy to kill. So you do have to be careful how far up you are. Even if you don't die, if you're routinely taking like 400 damage, then you're giving them a lot of ult charge, which is best avoided. Soldier, best defending point are the part 1 point. I typically hop over the bridge. Best defending point, I guess, for Gibraltar's first checkpoint. However, I found that it doesn't really work out if the opponents have any kind of dash out. Okay. So, I mean, at the very start of the round, when they're coming out of their spawn, you just stand on, like, not the bridge high ground, the high ground, just above the ditch. And you stay up there and you just do as much damage as possible as they're coming out. And, you know, like, it's one of those points on the map where you expect the other team to push past that, because most of the fighting on the first checkpoint in Gibraltar takes place in the ditch, in front of the hangar door. So, like, the initial stage is just building up as much ult charge as possible and, like, delaying them as much as you feasibly can, but it's one of those areas where you just reconcile they're gonna, like, push underneath you, and that's fine. What you do is you shoot at them, they go into the ditch, and then the rest of your team rotates back across the high ground. And if you're playing Soldier, the best place you can stand is up on the catwalks coming out of the hangar. So, you know, you have to, the staircase... You all know what the catwalk is. I don't know why I have to worry about this so much. Like, you know where the catwalk is on the first checkpoint outside the hangar, right? Like, you know, the 2 doors upstairs. You know where it is. That's the best place you can stand. Like, you won't be able to see people if they're, like, really in the ditch. But the way team fights usually go on Gibraltar, assuming the one team isn't just suiciding into the other team, is they'll push mostly up to the top of the ditch, and then they'll start, and that's where we actually, like, attempt to defend from. And then, you know, you're up on the catwalk, you can't see super into the ditch, but you can see the coming up part. So, like, it's just very hard for you to die there. You threaten that whole space, like, you can see everything. It's extraordinarily hard to get flanked from up there, because you can see every angle that they could feasibly flank you from, so as long as you're paying attention, you basically can't get flanked. It's just very safe, you threaten a very wide area. Yeah, it's high ground. Soldier loves high ground. You can't see into the ditch, so, like, if a team fight happens and your team starts pushing them further into the ditch, you might have to jump down to really follow your team. But then, like, fight ends, just reset up on high ground, you know. Go back around and stand up there again. It's just really safe, really hard to die. You can see a lot of space, basically. That's the best place you can be standing as Soldier. A lot of hit scan heroes in general like to stand up there, like Anna. Really good place to stand for Anna as well. A lot harder for her to get to, because she doesn't have any kind of mobility, you know, but, like, that's usually where most hit scan heroes want to stand. Anna looking for help on self-reviewing VoDs. While browsing the sub, something to hit home. Set another post that passively learning like this can only get you so far. My question is, what sort of things should I look for? So, you want to look for any time you made a mistake, obviously. This is the, you know, this is the obvious part of what I'm going to say. You want to look for any mistakes you made. So, you know, anytime you die, look at that and go, why did I die? And try to identify if you died because you made a poor decision, or if you just executed it badly. Because those two things give you different information. Because if you made a bad play on an idea level, then you need to reassess, like, what you do in that kind of situation. Whereas if it was a good idea, but you failed to execute it properly, then, you know, you might have made the right decision, but if you don't identify that you only failed mechanically, you might think you made a bad decision, which you didn't. You might have just executed it badly. So try and figure out if it was a mechanical mistake or an idea mistake, and then adjust accordingly depending on what happened. But also try to look for any opportunities in the game you missed at the time, because and I think this is the more important thing, but it's sometimes the harder thing to identify. Because when you're in the game, you're worrying about a lot of different things, right? Like, you got a lot more going on. When you're watching a video back, you're completely detached from the experience, so you can take in a lot more of what's happening. So when you're watching the game, try to look for any opportunities you missed at the time. Like, oh, this guy was out of position, but I didn't see it at the time, and I could have killed him if I was paying attention, right? Or, I saw this person go around, or I saw McCree start going off this way, like around the backside. So if I missed it at the time, if I caught that, then I could have moved back a little bit, and then when he came out to try and flank with the Deadeye, I could have tranked him immediately as soon as he appeared, but other than being taken by surprise, you know? So try and spot, like, the opportunities you missed, because there's a lot going on in any particular moment in Overwatch, so it's very easy to miss things that happen at the time. But if you can find them when you're watching a video, the next time you're in a similar situation, you're more likely to spot the opportunity. So those are the big things. Identify if it was a mechanical or idea mistake, and try to find missed opportunities. And, like, yeah, you know, if you waste a cooldown and all that, if you're standing way too far up, look for that kind of stuff as well, but, you know, that's already mentioned there, so fair enough. Climbing out of bronze. I've been playing as Diva to try and climb out of bronze. I've been stuck there for a couple days. I should just, I hate this DPS thing, because people always go, just pick a DPS and carry yourself out. This is why bronze is the cesspool that it is, because everybody is trying to play a DPS to hard carry themselves out, but none of them know how to play a DPS. That's why they're in bronze. They don't know how to play the game that well yet. If you're going to hard carry yourself out, you need to be better than the category you're currently in. So,
You can't do that. DPS, you need to be good. You need to be quite good at that DPS to hard carry. So don't do that. Is this really the only way to climb out of the lower ranks? Lower ranks. So I would actually say D.Va is one of the better people to try and play to carry out, because what I would try to do, what I would advise you to try and do, is pick a hero that is relatively easy to play, but has a fairly high impact, and people don't necessarily know how to deal with in bronze. This is why I've always said Winston is a very good hero for climbing yourself out of bronze, because Winston's very easy to play. All you need to do is identify who you should be jumping on, in bronze anyway. Like, you know, as you climb, you'll need to know more skills for Winston. But in bronze, all you really need to know is who you should jump on. And that'll basically be it. Because the enemy team will not respond to you correctly. The person you jump on is going to start panicking, and nobody on his team is going to help him, right? So if you just pick Winston, jump on their only healer, which is probably some shit like Zenyatta, you kill him, hey, great. Now I look around the DPS, like, oh, there's Widowmaker, go clap her next, right? So Winston's very easy, and people don't know how to respond to him, and he can have a very big impact. So I advise playing people like him. D.Va's also good. She's pretty easy to play, and she does something very similar to Winston. She's just a little bit more on the mechanic side. Who else is really good? Zenyatta can be good, but you need to have a decent amount of aim and positioning, so it's a little bit more iffy. Moira's really good. She just does a lot of healing, and you can also do damage, which, you know, people struggle with in bronze. Bridget's really good, punish people for doing stupid shit. People are doing a lot of stupid shit in bronze. Just heroes that are easy to play and have a big impact, basically. Those are the best ones to play. Like, yeah, if you can play a DPS to, like, a decent level, if you can play a DPS at, like, a gold level, even, then you can probably carry yourself out of bronze on that DPS. But if you are a bronze or silver DPS, you will not be able to hard carry yourself out of bronze by just insta-locking a DPS. So that's my recommendation. Gain theory, min-max, and IEWD. What are we talking about? Iterated elimination of weakly dominated strategies. What? What? What are we talking about? Let's talk about game theory. Okay, so I wondered if that was just a typo. After that, you engage in what is called IEWD, which basically eliminates useless moves from the game, making the game smaller, easier, and more solvable. A useless move is a move that is always countered by all other strategies no matter what, which would be listed in the payoff matrix. Okay, I understood that, but I'm just like, got to payoff matrix, like, oh fuck. I was thinking to myself, out of all the heroes in the game, which one could possibly contribute greatly to minimizing the maximum possible loss inflicted on my team? What? And my solution apparently happens to be Reinhardt. When I started using Reinhardt shield with more purpose, it allowed two things: negate the enemy team's damage, give my team enough moving room. It has helped increase my ranking. Too long didn't read. You will have better results if you try to minimize your losses instead of maximizing the enemies. I see. So you're basically saying go for a low risk, low reward playstyle. I mean, I guess. I was just like, the presentation in that theory is incredible. Iterated elimination of weakly dominated strategies. Possibly contribute to minimizing the maximum possible loss inflicted on my team. I understand what it means, it's just like when you hear the words, it's like, what? What are you talking about? I'm sorry, Professor. I didn't know. Anyway. Tank support player switching to DPS. Is this going to be like what character? The reason I want to make a switch is because my friends who I play with mostly play DPS. And play other games. Here I am still playing Overwatch, trying to get better. It's been a lot harder to play comp.
I feel like if I want to climb, I need to play some characters that don't require as much coordination. I'm not saying that DPS need team coordination. Which characters I should focus on, and what are some general tips? I mean, just play whichever one you like. Just play the DPS that you like to play. I mean, if we're looking for, like, don't require as much coordination, so we're looking for, like, an independent DPS. Well, all flankers, basically. Soldier is relatively independent because he has a self-heal. He's like a pretty tanky support. Soldier can be hard to kill, so he's pretty independent. Snipers. Yeah, flankers, snipers, soldier. Yeah, those are the ones that require like the least team coordination, the most independent heroes. Is it worth learning to main Orisa if you want to play Orisa? Like, yeah, you know, if you like her. I still have a lack of main tank. I don't really have a good sense for Ryan. I prefer tanking as Diva. As first, I think my main issue was definitely shield placement. If she's too problematic. She can be, depending on the situation. Like, some maps Orisa just isn't very good on. Usually the more dynamic maps, because the biggest detriment Orisa has is the fact that she does not reposition quickly. She is slow, and she cannot freely move her shield around. It's cooldown gated. So she can't reposition quickly. That's her biggest issue. So if you're on a map that has a very dynamic range of engagements, then Orisa can be an issue. If you're going to need to move from high ground to low ground frequently, Orisa can be an issue. Or if the enemy team is like a lot of divers, Orisa can be an issue, because she doesn't really bring a lot to stopping them, and she can't reposition to match where the threat is coming from very easily. So those are like the biggest issues Orisa has. But then you can argue similar cases for Reinhardt at the same time. So Orisa's fine. There are some situations in which she will struggle, but like Orisa is still fine. You can play Orisa. And like if you want to play Orisa is basically what I'm going to say to you. If you want to play someone, it's worth learning how to play them. Like, Orisa is fine, so there's nothing, like, mechanically there that needs to hold you back, like, meta-wise, I suppose. Climbing is just not possible for me, it seems. Oh, God. Let's just try and read the last paragraph and see if that's good enough. Most importantly, since so many guides and videos have a huge emphasis on mentality, that's something I look very seriously in my approach to improve. Truly believe with enough effort and improvement, but it is very difficult to keep believing that. 4 months have passed and I cannot get out of gold. Sometimes it takes a long time, you know, sometimes it takes a while, depends on you. Like, some people learn slower than other people, you know. But I don't know about much that anymore, considering I'm not getting into plat, apparently. Any tips on what when doing a similar position or anything, really? Should I just stop? I mean, it is just that you have to grind it out, my dude. Like, you can do as much extra stuff as you want. Like, you can watch all the videos, you can look at all the guides, but, like, there's only so much they can do for you. At the end of the day, you need to be able to play the game. A lot of it is, like, decision-making in the moment, because I know this is an issue I have with all games I play, but, like, this was most clearly shown to me when I started trying to learn how to play a fighting game, which is that I can know all the theory in the world, right? Like, I can tell you an extreme amount of theory about a fighting game, but I myself am still just, like, slightly above average at the fighting game I play, right? Like, I'm not absolutely incredible. But I can tell you so much about the theory of the fighting game, because I've absorbed all that. The problem is, knowing the theory and executing on the theory are two entirely different things, right? You can sit in the training mode and practice that combo all day long, but like, and you can execute that flawlessly on the training dummy. Doing that in the natural person is a different skill, right? Knowing the combo and knowing how to get to the combo are two different things. I know so much theory about fighting games, but I'm still, like, I'm no grandmaster, right? So, you know, you do have to just, like, grind it out. You can know all the theory, you can look at all these resources, you can look at all the strats, all the guides, you can know everything about the meta, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can execute it in practice, or that you'll be able to identify it in the moment, right? Because I know it all. I know everything. I'm so smart. But I can't actually do it in the moment, and that's the thing, right? You can know it, executing is a different issue. So you do really just have to, like, grind it out and get better at, like, identifying the thing that you, like, try to play, like, with purpose, right? Like, identify something that you have trouble with, and try to just, like, focus on improving that thing, right? Because, like, if you just have the general goal of improving, that's fine. Obviously, you want to do that, but you'll find you'll get greater returns if you focus on one thing at a time, right? So, what can we think about? So, like, just say I'm playing Reinhardt, and I got it all. I know everything, but I can't execute properly yet. So I try to identify what my issues are. Am I not protecting my team enough? Am I not holding my shield up enough? Does it feel like my team are dying a lot? Does it feel like my team isn't dying a lot, but we aren't really gaining a lot of ground? Does it feel like we're getting to the team fights, but then we aren't winning the team fights? Does it feel like I get hit by Earth Shatter a lot? Does it feel like I whiff Earth Shatter a lot? You know, try to identify what you have found. Like, try to identify a weakness, and then just, like, hard focus on one weakness at a time, right? And then just concentrate on that, and then just, like, that's all you're thinking about constantly, right? Is how to fix this issue in the moment. And then you get better at that. And, you know, you'll find that works better, because just thinking about, like, 1,000 different things at once, you know, you're not... Focus on one thing and get better at that. If I'm playing a fighting game, like, I get hit by throws a lot. I guess I'll focus on teching throws. I'm good at attacking, I can't defend, so I'm just gonna try and play really passively and get better at blocking high and low, you know, like, focus on one thing at a time. Find a weakness, focus on that. And I do mean focus on that. Yeah, it's a troubleshooting process, basically. What does it feel like I'm not doing? Alright, I've identified what I'm not doing. How do I fix that? And then try and find a solution to that problem. What to do when a teammate feeds. Don't put yourself in a terrible position just to keep a teammate up. If a teammate is feeding, chances are you keeping them up will just feed the enemy team more ult. That's true. I've never really thought about it that way, but you're not wrong. Don't flame your teammate if someone feeds. Okay, good talk, team. After 13 seasons, finally reached GM. Good job. Anyone else think Doomfist is completely unplayable now? No, but he's definitely worse than he was. Which is good, because he was ridiculous. Literally 90% of my deaths are from Hanzo. I doubt that's actually true. You know, hey, you know? There we go. Alright, I feel like I die to X hero a lot. Well, how do I stop that, right? How does X hero kill me? Alright, so I need to avoid being in the situation where X hero kills me. So I need to take Y steps to avoid situation X. And that's how you do it. For those of you wondering about Bridget changes. Bridget healing has been buffed that flat 4% in any situation up to 33% if you hit the jackpot, which is rare. In conclusion, there are about 3 situations. If you land 1 shot to activate your passive with your shift, it is actually a significant healing increase by flat 20 AoE healing against poke. If you fight 6 seconds or longer, the healing increase gets closer to only 4% flat. The most important one, if you do short fights, about 4 to 5 seconds with disengage and re-engage, your healing total can be buffed significantly by an estimated 10 to 20%. 33% is the maximum you can get. Hitting the miraculous 30% increased buff is really hard to do, but 10 to 20% isn't shabby either. Okay, thank you, Professor, for enlightening me with mathematics. How to sleep a Nanoblade in low RSR by a Plat Ana is basically going to be wait till they dash. They usually start poking at around 85. I mean, they're poking generally. I know exactly what you're going to keep an eye on and be prepared, and do not use your sleep unless it's super impactful. Most Genjis dash into the air where they activate their ultimate. Because Genji can't move that much during his cast animation, this is the first opportunity for you to sleep him. That's true enough, yeah. This method only works if you were prepared for the blade, otherwise your reaction might be too slow. Yeah, I mean, he also might not dash straight up in the air, but he is probably going to dash forward, because drawing the blade gives you a reset, so they will usually dash, if not straight up, they'll dash somewhere, then draw the Dragon Blade, so true, that'll be one of the best times to do it. Decides to target you first with his blade. This method works better in case the Genji Blade's unexpected and you weren't prepared for. You have 2 options. You either try to predict when he's going to dash, or you try to react on his dash by turning 180 degrees and sleeping him. Genjis always jump during Blade because you can predict the movement of players mid-air more easily. You can abuse this habit of Genji players to sleep him more easily. Aim at a height where you can hit both Genjis on the ground. Yeah, okay, so, you know, aim sort of higher than you would normally think. Yeah, I mean, basically, the best thing you can do is wait until right after he's finished dashing. Either when he's drawing the Dragon Blade or when he's dashed past you and then is about to cut you. The thing is that then there's a very small window where you have the time to do that one, right? So, yeah, basically it's what I thought it would be. Just wait till he dashes. Fuck, I clicked on it. My bad. Oh, God. Let's see. Cannot aim with Ashe to save my life. I have no problems on hero like Widow McCree. But with Ashe, it feels like there's just the slightest bit of lag. People have figured this out, right? That Ashe's hitbox, shot hitbox is sometimes bugged slightly. Something like that. I remember seeing something like that. I just assume I'm bad. So, but I remember hearing something that, like, her hitbox is a little bit wonky sometimes. I don't know if that's actually true, because I haven't vetted this source in any way. I was just told at one point that this is how it is. Also, Flicking Fear was on weird on her. I mean, you know, aiming on any hero is slightly different, so, like, it's probably just a matter of having to build a different muscle memory. Like, but, like, I've heard that there's a thing, but, like, you probably just have to kind of get used to aiming with Ashe. Like, just because you can play the other hit scan heroes doesn't necessarily mean you can play that hit scan hero. I need help getting out of low silver. I've clocked in almost 80 hours on Junkrat. I can play Orisa and Lucio when needed, but no matter how much I practice, I can't get out of silver. I'm really trying to improve my game sense. I can't figure out how to climb the silver. No one ever wants to communicate, and they are treating the matches like quick play. Which I've already basically answered this question as best as I can previously, so, you know, there we go. Does Junkrat passive give him ult charge when someone walks through it? I don't know. I think so. It should. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. The comments probably know. I'm pretty sure it gives both of you ult charge. Both of you? What do you mean? For example... Oh, I see. So, yeah. Like Roadhog, definitely. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Junkrat gets it. Do indeed give him multiple charge. Yeah, I thought so. See, one of those things again where I was like, yeah, wait. I was 100% certain of it up until there was a question asked about it. Finally got Grandmasters, good job. Any other popular Pug Discords besides our Cow? Dunno. Can I get some tips on Widowmaker versus Hanzo matchup? Widowmaker is not favored in this matchup, despite what you might assume. If you are really good at Widowmaker, if you're a fucking pro player, then you are favored versus Hanzo. But for most people, Hanzo actually has the advantage in this fight, so I would recommend trying to rig it as much in your favor as possible, or avoid it as much as possible. Without a doubt, I get less headshots on him than any other character. I'm scared, a little scared, especially when it comes to a poke fest. Yeah, that's the thing, is that Hanzo can just spam at you, right? Whereas you have to actually hit the guy. What is obvious weaknesses? So, you know, try not to get into just a straight up, like, firing at each other contest with Hanzo. Because, like, Hanzo will win that. He can just spam at you, right? And then you gotta click on that head real good. Like, you gotta click on that head real good to beat the Hanzo in that situation. So try and, like, rig it as much as possible. Try and get, like, the Venom Mine on him so you can come around a corner and just click him immediately with the infra sight. Try and get him while he's focusing on somebody else. If you can't do either of those things, I recommend just trying to avoid him until you're in a position where you can do one of those things. Just find a different line of sight that is more difficult for him to really harass you, and just focus on other things, because in a straight up, like, firing at each other contest, Hanzo has the advantage over you. So, like, be careful. Unless you're a god. Unless you're gonna click on that head real fucking good. In which case, by all means. But you gotta click on that head real fucking good. The state of Master's rank. I don't know if it's just me. Does the skill set players having Masters feel like it ranges from low Diamond to low GM? Wow. Crazy that, isn't it? I've played about 20 games this week, or we get absolutely stomped. That's Overwatch. There's very little in between stomped and getting stomped, you know? Stomping and getting stomped. Stomped and stomped also kind of feels like it sums up Overwatch to a different degree, you know? Is it possible because of the game being on sale? No. No. And now playing alone? No, it's just that every elo is elo hell. All of them. Every single one. All the way up to top 500. All of them. How do you do VoD reviews? We already answered this, so unless there's a different question in here, I wanted to review some of my own VoDs. Do you point out your weaknesses, check positioning, or what? Do I take notes? Yeah, you don't need to take notes. Like, it's not that serious. You're just trying to, like, identify the situation so that you know what to do next time you're in a similar spot, basically. Yeah, we already answered that question earlier, so I'm not going to go into that one either. So that's 2 pages, a little over an hour. Good job, team. So thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us, and I hope you found the video helpful.